Hi Booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching Books I'm Not Reading. I'm here today to do a Jane Austen July review, and that is of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. This is by, of course, Jane Austen, as well as Seth Grahame-Smith. I remember when this book came out in 2009, and I believe it was shelved in YA. In the young adult section at Barnes & Noble, but definitely appealed to more than just teenagers. So we had Jane Austen fans buying it, as well as people who love zombie things, all things zombie. So I always hoped that the zombie fans would also maybe return for something that's just by Jane Austen. And there were some other spin-offs. Somebody else co-authored a version of Sense and Sensibility that was called Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters. So before I begin my review of this book, this year I am trying to read exclusively from my home library, and that means that many books I am probably going to just read once and get rid of, and that is the case with this one. So if you would like this book, please put your name. Please tell me so in the comment section. I would be happy to send this to you as soon as I am able to get to the post office. You will definitely have it in time for next Jane Austen July if you would like. But I also might say maybe stop the video here and don't watch the rest of my review. I would hate to take away any of your enjoyment from the book by spoiling anything and turning your mind one way or another into what you think about the book. So we'll just cut it there. For those of you who would like a copy of this book, like I said, please let me know in the comment section down below. I will be happy to mail it internationally. Now on to the review. I have to say, when I first started reading this, the first 20-25 pages of the book I thought were really clever. This book, the backbone of this book is still really Pride and Prejudice. The zombies are kind of a side feature, but some of the other changes that Seth Grahame-Smith has made in the book really fundamentally, well, at least to me, were shocking, I guess. It's almost like he was saying, oh, like Mr. Collins and Mr. Wickham, people have hated those characters for centuries, so I'm going to really have them have some kind of, I don't know, catastrophic end of their story. And really doesn't have anything to do with zombies. Not much. But the first 25 pages or so, I mean, I actually read part of it to Jason because I just thought it was hilarious. Because the wit of Jane Austen is still, you can still feel it. And there's just lots of times where you read sentences that you know are straight from Pride and Prejudice, and he's just changed like one word to make it appropriate for the zombie apocalypse that's taking place in Regency England. The Bennet sisters have been trained and they have sworn their allegiance to the crown to kill zombies. They have been to China twice. There's a scene where Elizabeth Bennet stands on her head with one finger holding her whole body up. Whatever. People don't practice music. They have dojos where they practice their martial arts training. Many people have been trained in Japan as opposed to China. I don't know how the Bennet family would have ever afforded to send their daughters to China. And maybe they did. Maybe the crown paid. And again, I get it. Like, it's supposed to be absurd, right? It's supposed to be just ridiculous. But as I said, I feel like actually what happens to the characters, what characters do to other human beings is far worse than what I was expecting. And again, the zombies are really just kind of, I don't know, like a side thought almost. Like, yes, they interrupt a couple balls and kill some servants, and, you know, they have to have their heads chopped off and be burned to death or whatever. I mean, so the usual kind of zombie fare that you would expect. like Mr. Darcy, he beats the crap out of one woman twice. And I love Mr. Darcy. I love Pride and Prejudice. That's my favorite Austen novel. And the idea of him doing that was really shocking to me. I wasn't surprised by anybody killing zombies, but I was surprised by that. When Elizabeth Bennet goes to visit Catherine de Bourgh, of course, Catherine de Bourgh isn't interested in music the way she is in Pride and Prejudice. She's interested in, again, the art. They call it the deadly arts. And the zombies are often called the unmentionables. And Lady Catherine has about 20 ninjas in her service. And so, of course, instead of asking Elizabeth Bennet to play the piano, she wants to see, how well Elizabeth Bennet can perform against her ninjas. And I guess apparently there's no, practice material you can use. You can only use, a legitimate sword. So Elizabeth Bennet ends up killing 3 of Lady Catherine's ninjas. I just thought that, so she essentially kills 3 people, who I was just as surprised at, because again, if they're supposed to be there to protect Lady Catherine, or if they're part of her staff or something like that, it seems a bit odd to me that she would, I don't know, kill 3 people in the book. Not zombies. Again, I totally expected plenty of zombie killing. And then the really, a couple low moments in the book are some of the characters who we love when we read Pride and Prejudice are actually not that great. They're not that great of people in this book. And do some things that, again, I guess in general what I'm trying to say is this does not have the, in my mind, the stamp of Jane's approval. Because the way Seth Grahame-Smith has manipulated some of the characters and changed their circumstances is, really anyone who could make us feel sorry for Mr. Wickham must be pretty grim. But the lowest moment for me was a conversation between Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, and he has lent her his gun temporarily so she can kill some zombies, and she gives him the gun back, and then they have to have a joke about balls. And I don't mean the kind that you dance at, alright? It was so unnecessary and just such a groaner of a line. But yeah, it was hard to keep going after that. What I'm really struggling with, though, is how do I rate this book? Because Pride and Prejudice for me is easily 5 stars. No questions. No doubts in my mind. But this is just on a whole other level. And I don't mean that in a good way. I don't want to, again, the backbone, the heart of the story, you can tell. It's very, very obvious when it's Jane Austen's writing and when it's Seth Grahame-Smith. So, yeah, I don't know how to rate it. And I would love your thoughts on that if you have any, because Pride and Prejudice is still sort of buried in here a little bit, but there were just so many troubling things, some kind of almost references to cutting. I don't know. Yeah, I thought I just was very troubled by. Very, very troubled by. So anyway, this book was not for me. I think in some ways I wish it had focused more about the zombies. I was actually really worried that Elizabeth Bennet or Mr. Darcy might actually turn into a zombie. That's not the case. So I'm glad that wasn't the end. If you've read this book, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And yeah, if you've seen the movie, I can't believe it was made into a movie. I can't find the movie streaming anywhere, but I'm actually kind of okay with that. I will say when I finished this book, I had to kind of I needed a cleansing, and so I ended up watching the 6-hour Pride and Prejudice starring Colin Firth and Jennifer L. To remind myself of the true Pride and Prejudice. Or if you'd like to enter my Jane Austen July and to your Booktube Anniversary giveaway, which is a copy of Persuasion, a journal, and a card, you can also do that in the comment section down below. So thanks so much for watching Booktube, and I will talk to you soon. Remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others.